Hello, Dr. Baker, and this is going to be my final presentation for our Legal Environment 691 class. I'm going to be covering today Rite Aid versus the Federal Trade Commission and the complaint they issued against Rite Aid for their use of facial recognition technology. So here's our agenda for today. I'm going to go over a general overview about the complaint. Then we're going to get a better understanding of the technology that Rite Aid uses and the impact that it has on stakeholders, and the concerns that the FTC has moving forward with the technology. We're also going to go over my proposed solutions for Rite Aid, and to wrap it off, we'll have a conclusion. So as I mentioned, we're going to have a general overview of what's actually happening. The FTC filed a complaint in late December, early January about Rite Aid's facial recognition technology. They are alleging that it harms consumers in many various different ways, and it has implications that go against consumer rights and privacies. And that's the main issue the FTC had in their complaint. So to get a better understanding, we're going to have to actually look at what Rite Aid uses for their system for facial recognition technology. So in the 2010s, they created a watch list database, which is a system that identifies potential criminal activity or actual criminal activity. So say there's somebody who shoplifts at a Huntington Rite Aid location. The next day they go to a Charleston Rite Aid location. I think they're going to do the same thing. The technology will pick up that, hey, this person's a shoplifter who hasn't been caught yet, and notify the employees in the building from the Charleston location. Now, this sounds really good at first glance. However, it's not actually how most of the situations worked out. They're also for potential criminal activity. So if there was a suspicious person, however they identified the suspicious person as, whether it be look suspicious, which I will get into later, or just suspicious activity as in staying in one place for like 30 minutes or staying inside one facility or store for an excessive amount of time. This is an issue with the system that they had, but also they had an issue of lack of transparency. So Rite Aid kept the technology a secret from consumers. Well, they didn't necessarily try to hide it, but they weren't very transparent in saying what they were actually doing with their cameras. And this goes to as far as the employees who were supposed to be operating some of these did not recognize and know that this was actually taking place. And as a customer, I'm sure maybe you've been to Rite Aid before, I did not know this was happening either. I was kind of shocked that they actually had this technology. So some issues identified by the FTC is that Rite Aid didn't necessarily consider false positives when they were laying out their plan. And this is a big issue because there's been a lot of issues with a lack of accuracy in their system, and this is due to the image quality that Rite Aid has. Their image quality has been so bad it causes many inaccuracies, and inaccuracies cause false positives. Now this is even more exacerbated by inadequate employee training. So there's really only 1 to 2 options that the employees had in place. Either ignore it, which obviously if there's a shoplifter inside your store or alleged shoplifter inside your store, you want to do something about it, or call the cops / kick them out. Now this becomes obviously a big issue when many false positives, more false positives than there are actual positives, are present within the system. So their system is flawed, which impacted many people. So pretty much all stakeholders involved were affected, whether it be shareholders, customers, employees, managers, different things of that nature. Everybody pretty much was affected by it. So it had negative effects on consumers, specifically minority communities. It had a major impact on those, so much so that there was one specific story that was cited where there was an African-American man who was got flagged in Los Angeles, but also got flagged in New York around the same time period. It was like minutes apart. The funny part about all of this is that person was actually from the Midwest and was in neither location. So there was 2 false positives of a shoplifter on a minority when he never even shoplifted, and he wasn't even in either side of the country. He was in the middle of it. So this kind of is the worst part about the entire system. And obviously this has implications for employees as well. As I mentioned, they don't really know what to do in this situation. The Boy Who Cries Wolf comes to mind. There are a lot of false positives. The one time it's not going to be a false positive, it's going to be a bad day for that employee. And this kind of goes against their individual rights with as employees and consumers as well. This also affects the shareholders and Rite Aid's reputation as a whole, because they're kind of betraying and have betrayed public trust by doing this. So obviously, reputational damage in today's day and age is going to be really bad because of social media. Rite Aid doesn't necessarily have the biggest social media presence, and they don't try to either. However, having reputational damage spreads like wildfire nowadays. So this is also kind of the FTC putting out a warning for other companies who do have similar technologies, and it has some impact on them too. So I would consider them stakeholders as well. If they have similar technology, they need to have the appropriate training and good enough image quality to minimize false positives as possible. So what do I think Rite Aid should do moving forward? In the FTC's complaint, they included a 5-year probation period on the facial recognition technology. I think that Rite Aid should accept this with open arms. This would show that they're accountable and they want to improve. Some more solutions regarding the actual technology, as they need to have better employee training and education for these situations. How to tell if something is a false positive. Obviously, if somebody's in California and they get flagged for New York and it's 10 minutes later, that's a false positive. And just having a system in place to show these false positives is essential in training the employees and having the general education of how to tackle these situations when they aren't false positives is essential as well. Rite Aid also needs to be more transparent in their technology use. Coming from an accounting education background, transparency is the name of the game when it comes to financial statements, and I think it should be the name of the game when it comes to this situation as well, because they have betrayed public trust. They need to be open and honest and have communications with customers, shareholders, everybody involved, the FTC, to continuously improve their technology. They also need to do this by testing, and I believe testing internally and externally. So having maybe employees, managers, whoever, use this technology on themselves to try to get flags, try to have false positives, to see where they can improve their system and use better image quality. With this, of course, you're going to have to improve image quality, better cameras, and things of that nature. And they're going to have to continue to monitor this internally. I also do think somebody who is more qualified to do this, besides Rite Aid, obviously have had issues with it, should do the testing as well. Maybe this isn't going to be as much as the internal testing, but having a third-party independent source come in and test it is essential for proving independence in this situation, much like an audit. In the complaint as well, it was mentioned the dangers of having all these facial recognition technology because it creates a database of faces. And having a good data security system in place is essential for protecting individual rights of consumers. And if they didn't even have good enough image quality to have all these false positives, then the odds are they probably didn't have the appropriate database in place to be able to protect these individual rights of customers. So that leads to just more accountability. They need to take full responsibility for the harm they cause, especially the minority community. They definitely need to demonstrate a commitment to ethical and responsible business conduct moving forward. Not only will this make customers feel more comfortable with working and going to Rite Aid in the future, it just creates a better public image. So it's better for everybody all around. The shareholders do not want a bad public image in today's day and age for sure. So having this appeases everybody, and going through with these proposed solutions and potential solutions, I think would benefit Rite Aid, the public, everybody involved, the FTC as well. So to wrap it all up, there is a silver lining in all of this. This definitely gives Rite Aid an opportunity to reassess their entire system and how they practice it and uphold consumer rights. If they're able to take a step back, say, hey, we messed up, how can we improve this? This creates the perfect opportunity to do so. And they can do it, should do it with the FTC. They shouldn't push back on the FTC. They should accept it and work with them and the stakeholders involved to improve their system and better train their employees as well. So they need to do this in a responsible manner, but also moving forward, because technology is always going to advance. Having these systems in place and these checks and balances in place and monitoring in place for other technologies moving forward is also going to be essential, because as time goes on, there's going to be more technology to identify people with fingerprinting and whatnot, and having the appropriate data security things in place, and also just a general monitoring and accuracy system as well in place is just going to be huge for them moving forward. So thank you for everything. This class has been a really fun time. I hope that you enjoyed the presentation. I enjoyed researching it. And that's going to be all for me. You have a good summer. Yeah, that's all I got for you.